Well, we didn't lose too many. I noticed that we have more non-smokers than smokers. So you can tell what I was doing. I wasn't listening. I was counting to see how many people were here. Well, now that we've thought about it, all of us have been to the bathroom, discussed it. We'll decide what we're going to be or not. You notice the 6 and 7 steps only half a page. Hardly a full half page. They really didn't want to put it in there at all. They wanted you to find it out without putting it in there. And then always, are you really willing for God to remove everything? Well, you don't know what that is. The reason you don't know what it is because God hadn't let you know yet. See, somebody could tell us. Anybody ever tell you what's wrong with you? Yeah. Do you any good? No. Was it right? Yeah, they were what they were saying, but the way it's going to be revealed to me wasn't what I thought it was. So see, it had nothing to do with you were right all again. You were right to begin with. The hell with you. Because what they said, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. There's nothing you can do or I can do about the way I am until something happens that God can do it. Because God has to do all this. You can't do any of it yourself. None of it. That's the bad part about the whole damn thing. God's insisting on being God, which I do not think is fair. And if anybody wanted to be God, it was you and me. I don't mind. I don't necessarily want to be God. I just want God to be God following my instructions on a daily basis. One day at a time. Our group, right? Little thing there that I'm going to say this prayer with them again. Damn. Have you done the little prayer now? You're feeling so good after you've done your 5th step. Say the little prayer. God, take me and rip me up, run me through the rock crusher and do all that crap to me that you don't know is going to happen. You got an affair going beside your wife? Yes, well, cut one of them off. Which one? I don't know. I'm confused. I don't really know. I like her better, but I'm married to her. And they didn't want me to go with... I was never going with a married woman. Guarantee you that. I was never going to do that. I was out at the golf course one day and I was talking. I said, did you know that he's going with her and she's married? You'll never catch me doing that. 2 weeks later, the Lord had me to have compassion for this lady who happened to be married. But mine was different. We were in love. And I assumed her husband slept out in the garage and found out later it wasn't exactly like that. But so one night me and a fifth of bourbon were having a meeting, and it was around 10:30, 11. Some stuff came up that I needed to call her, and so I called her, and evidently it was not a good time. And she evidently let him in the house, and there was a couple of kids that had too that seemed to be theirs that was there. And then they wanted me to, I had some stuff I had to get settled. You know, the Bible says, get it settled, don't sleep on it. So I remember that from Sunday school. So I kept trying to get it settled, and about 12:30, 1 o'clock, she had the phone off the hook. I kept dialing it. And I said, you know, I bet she doesn't know that the phone is off the hook. I better go over there. She's got 2 kids there. She needs to know that the phone is off the hook. So I had just enough left to fill a Coke bottle. It had about that much Coke in it. You know, too much acid, too much Coke's not good for you. So I filled the bottle, and by the time I got over there, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, one side of Houston, the other. And then I get over there, well, hell, I'm the only one up. Everybody else asleep, no lights on or anything. I said, now how in the hell am I going to let her know that the phone is off the hook? And I sat there and finished that Coke bottle, and I said, if I throw this Coke bottle through that picture window with that lamp behind it, she'll know that the phone is off the hook. So I said, and that thing went crack! God! I'm standing out there by the side of that car, and the lights started coming on in the neighborhood. I said, well, I think it's time for me to leave. So somebody wanted me to, some idiot, some nosy neighbor took my license number down, which I think was terrible, reported it. They even told the police. I was merely trying to do the right thing. But they humbly asked God to remove this. Can you be humble? When I have run it as far as it'll go. You know how you and I surrender? Get up, take off down here by God and run it, whoop, hit that wall, come back up here and regroup. Run it over there as far as it'll go, and then whoop, come back over here and regroup. Run it over there and come back. Said, I think I'll give that up. And that's the way we turn it over to God. They want me to be humble. You don't even have to look it up. All you need to do is give up having your way about anything. And if you'll do that, we got it. Show's over. We won't have to go to AA anymore. Just say, I don't want my way anymore. I'm certainly not going to arrange anything anymore. I'm going to leave everything alone. Let the Lord take care of it. Wouldn't that be nice? Can't do it, can you? Can't do it. I'd like to do it. I can do it right now, but not at 5:30. Can't, because I'll be out there, and there'll be folks out there, and somebody's got to get out there and arrange that deal, and that's you and me. I don't know why we have to do it, but we have to. I was in the airport the other day and started trying to be concerned about the way that girl was not getting the seat she needed. I was going to rearrange the damn plane so she could sit where I thought she ought to be sitting with this other guy, and then the other girl was supposed to sit by me because I knew she looked like she's troubled. So I'm going to have to, what did I do to have that thing removed from me? How was I going to do that? That sex deal. I didn't know I had it. I just thought I was in love. How do you do that? Painfully. You had to stop doing it. God! I had brain damage not doing it. And they didn't want me to start up anything new. Wanted me to pray for what's her name. Pray for what's her name, for God's sakes. You pray for her. Never tell her what's wrong with her ever again. I said, who's going to tell her? Never going to do anything to work her around to get her to do what she needs to do. Never. No matter what anybody. Don't use anybody nothing. And pray that little prayer, God, thy will be done for her as well as for me. Take our relationship, let it become what you want it to be. I don't want our relationship to be what God wants it to be. I don't want to be in a relationship with her at all. She and I hate each other, you know. And besides that, I wasn't sleeping with her anyway. And there was another girl there that I knew that was mine, and that I knew that God had designed just for me. And she'd been sober about a month, and you could tell the chemistry was right. And they wouldn't let me go with her. So I start saying that prayer, and then all of a sudden, that sex thing didn't have anything to do with her. Didn't have anything to do with her at all. That loveless sex thing surfaced, and God, I had it and couldn't get rid of it. And my sponsor says, there's something wrong with you. I said, well, listen, I'm going to be telling you every day, 2 or 3 times about my thing I've got. And I've told it, and told it, and told it, and so I finally, and God would not remove it. So I told the group. One of the girls says, you're not supposed to tell that group. So I went over and told another group. And she snitched on me. You know, we don't gossip here, we're just concerned. So my sponsor said, listen, there's something wrong. Usually, we're so sick and tired of hearing about that thing. Usually, when you stop acting on any defect of your character, God will transform your mind and remove it. And that's not happening with you. We don't know why that's not happening. So the only thing we know for you to do now is you go home. Don't you call me. Don't you call them. See, they can never make up their damn mind. One time they want you to call them day and night. Now they want you to don't call them at all. You go over there and you get in that apartment and you stay there till God removes that. But I didn't want to work anyway. So I went over there and prayed all day and cried and cried. The next day it's gone. I didn't even tell them. I just waited about 3 or 4 nights, and we all went out to ice cream, sitting around the table, and I said, well, I guess I might as well tell you all. They said, oh, we knew it the first night. You know, you're always going to be the last to know. But that's the way I'm going to be able to get, see, I am going to be a person who's not going to be angry anymore. I'm going to be a person that's not going to hate anybody anymore. Now, I can't be that, but I want to be a person that doesn't have that sex deal anymore. I'm going to take a chance on God transforming it to where it'll be the way it ought to be. And I'm going to have to take that chance. And I did that. And I'm going to have to get to be a person where I'm never going to be angry towards another person, ever. See, that people are saying, we had a guy, you know how we are, led a meeting one night and he had this deal. He's been trying to do a little therapy work at one of the treatment centers because he couldn't get work and he needed a little money. So he went in there and he brought one of the books in there that says, a healthy argument is good. Really? Healthy argument for us is, right after she died, we had a healthy argument. The only way we know how to have a healthy argument is who gets murdered first. Because what they say to us, you don't do it. Anybody else have one? Help yourself. Not you and I. We don't get to do that. We just don't get to do that. I think one of the things that I have to, now remember, God is not going to tell us about things. They're not going to tell us about things in that big book that's not going to be different. God is not going to, nor is our big book going to give you something. If you're an angry, resentful person that they know you are, and you're a selfish, self-centered person, they've got the system that God is going to transform you into a person who's not that way. So everything is there. I'm going to be able to become. See, they used to tell me, you shouldn't be like that. How could I keep being like that if that's the way I am? Well, I couldn't, because nobody had my answer. Nobody had my solution. That's the difference between AA and everything else. We've got, that says, we've got a chapter in there. This is a solution. We've got the solution. The rest of this stuff's just crap that they dig up. I shouldn't use that word, but it's better than the other one. And they both mean the same thing, so that's what it is. There's no other. I think the one that I hate so much is when, for some reason, you and I just won't forgive ourselves. We just won't do it. I guess we can't. I guess we would if we could, but we can't. We just won't forgive ourselves. There's a way that I'm going to become a person who can forgive, but I've got to come that way. They want us to make amends. Well, I used to say I'm sorry and go do it again. Then I get to say I'm sorry again. Well, people have heard that. That must not be it. No, it's not it. And some of us owed money. I didn't know any more than I could. And they want you to pay them back. You don't have any money. My sponsor said, well, you know what we're going to do. We're going to pay them back. I said, I don't have any money. He said, that has nothing to do with it. So here I'm going to go, and he wants me to go tell these people that I'm going to pay them back, and I don't have any money. I said, will you go with me? He said, hell no. God, going to make me go by myself, and I'm only 43. I'm supposed to. I finally waited till Saturday where I could go and have coffee at the club, at AA club, and then I went out to my first deal, went in there, got the manager, which I hated to do, and we went back there in that room and had the little girl there, and she looked at, he said, look up his account, and looked it up. I had the card there, and he said, he looked at it and had it back to her, says, when he pays this off, throw it away. I thought, I'll never do any business here as long as I live. I thought he'd want me to go charge some more. Didn't tell me how great I was or nothing. Said he says he's going to pay off as much as he can whenever he can, but he owes a bunch of people, so don't tell him when he's going to get it paid off. I thought, hey. Son of a bitch. This is a spiritual talk, you know. Then they want me to never, ever, ever, ever harm another human being, no matter what they do to me. Does that sound like a fair deal? It's not a fair deal. We're the ones that can tell them who they are and be thorough. We can not only tell them who they are, we can tell them what they need to do. And I don't know why, when we're as good as anybody, we're better than anybody at it, they won't let us do it. We're never going to do anything that will harm. You know what happens when somebody does something to them. You need to go get their job or something, run over them with a truck or something, for God's sakes. Do something to them bad. Can't do it. I said, what if somebody drives a truck through my bedroom? Well, you need to listen to this crap. You need to pray for them and call me. I said, what about the son of a bitch that did it? Don't do anything to harm him. God! I said, what am I going to do? Just call you and say somebody ran a truck through my bedroom? And he said, yeah, and then pray for him. God! No matter what they do. No matter what they do. Well, see, what I'm doing is not what I'm doing. See, what I'm doing when I automatically pray for you, when you have done something to me, or I think you've done something to me, and tell my sponsor, I have automatically forgiven that person. That's what they wanted me to do. But they knew that if they said, forgive him, I couldn't do it. So they tricked me into this other crap. And then what happens? Once I become a person who is forgiving that person by my action of not harming him, then God forgives me and I become forgiven. Why didn't they say that? Because they don't want to give me that knowledge too quick. Because I'll think I can do it and it won't work. Or I'll determine how it's supposed to be and it won't be like I think it is. So that's what I need to do. And remember too, God, remember the way you think it was. Make sure when you make that list that was in your 4 steps, you'll pick about your life story. You may think you've got a bunch on there. Check with your sponsor before you do it. Because I'll assure you that a lot of people would not let me do what I wanted to them. They got away from me. So there's not a big list. If you've got a big list, it's not true. Sorry about that. You're not that popular. And you're not that great. So just check it with your sponsor. And besides that, remember, the majority of what you think happened did not happen that way. I've even talked, I finally went down to the valley and I said, maybe I ought to make amends to him. And I started mentioning to him about it and he said, I don't have any idea what the hell you're talking about. I thought, you silly bastard, I've been knowing that for years. He didn't even know what I was talking about. Ex-football player, no wonder he didn't know. His 49ers, they're bad ego anyway. He looked seedy, I look good. Well, since I'm different than anybody else, now you think you're not different? Listen, think about it. When you go to work Monday, ask them if they take a daily inventory. You take a daily inventory? Do you always let somebody know what you're doing before you do it? If you do anything, do you tell anybody about it? Do you tell everybody? Did you tell another human being the next day what you did last night? They don't do that. They don't even think about it. It's you and I. You think we're not different? Listen, you and I get off work. If we start to leave, we say, bye, laughing, smiling. They said, bye, see you tomorrow. They're going to go home, eat supper, watch TV, do something, and you're going to go home, think about committing suicide. And you both smile. They don't think like we do. People do not think like we do. So what they are trying to tell me is, I don't decide what's going on in my life. You know, we're the only people that I know of that will deceive ourselves. We're the only people I know of that won't let themselves know what they're doing. A lot of people wouldn't even entertain the thought of doing that. You and I, that's the only way we can work it after we get here. If you let yourself know about it, then you have to tell your sponsor and blow the whole deal. I had a good job, finally. And I was been sober about 4 years, which is dangerous. Oh, excuse me. Between that 4th and 6th year, Merry Christmas time. Don't worry about her. So what I was going to do, I had a good job and everything else, and I hated my job. I was paying my credit cards off, everything. I was paying everything off. I was just doing fine. And I thought, I hate my job. Can't stand my job. Hate this job. Living better, going there every night. Things were really better. Got me a new wife, and I got me a civilian wife this time. That'll break you from whatever it is you're doing. And she's very religious, and that'll help you. And she'll read the Bible and tell you the Lord told me to tell you this. Well, you can't argue with that. By God, the Lord said it. I finally got to wondering, why didn't he ever tell me? Took me 5 years to catch on to that. We're quick, though. I love us. Nobody sits in crap like you and I do. 4 or 5 years, 10. We make the wrong turn, we blow 5 years right there. Anybody else, 3 weeks. That's the reason we have to stay young, because we got a long trip. We're the only people I know that takes 25 years out of their life, which it means, you know, you go from 40. When you're 70, then you have to go back. You're really just 50. So that's the reason it's hard on us to have to do all that. Now I've forgotten where we were. Do you have any idea? My wife says, don't chase any rabbits, and I just ran off with a couple right there. Was anybody listening? Y'all have any idea what we were talking about? We were on any particular step. Oh, had a good job, right? Came in from the left side this time. So I had been running around with this guy in AA. Not running around with him, but I'd been kind of getting close to him because he owned a business. And he had drove those big Fords, those Continental type. And stuff like that never impressed me anyway. And he had 4 box seats at all our football games, which didn't mean a damn thing to me, nothing. Except I thought it was nice that the Lord gave us that break. Because we parked where the real folks parked. We didn't have to park way back out of the we go right in there and sit. Even though Lord was getting beat every game, what difference did it make? Doing fine. And he had a big house out there and everything. So I was going to think about, I knew he was probably going to get me to be a sales manager. Even though I've never been one, I'm sure I'd be good at it. I like doing stuff you've never done because that's the way you qualify for it. Especially alcoholics. So, and it's recommended that 2 alcoholics hook it up if you can get a chance, because you think one's disaster, get 2 together. That'll wreck the business. So I go through, now hear this. I go through the deal. There's one little thing in his business that he did that I couldn't do. That little thing is always there. Always. No matter what it is in our lives, that little thing is where God is letting you and I know that's not it. Now the trouble between you and I is there's 6 or 7 other things that seems like that is not it. So we have to get to the place where that is. And so I went to this sponsor and I said, made sure he'd been sober 16 years. And I told him about it and he said, forget it. What do you think I did? I forgot it a couple of weeks. Then I went to another guy. I went to 5 other guys about that one same thing. And every one of them said, forget it. I said that one little thing I can't do. Then I went to the 6th guy. It took me a year and a half. Don't give it up, right? I don't want my way, only the Lord's. So I went in there, and this one guy said, I could do that. What did I do? Woo, here we go. He said, well, there's no use you coming to the plant. We'll start out east. I don't have any business over there. Go out there and hire a bunch of men and get them all set. Then I'll bring you in. You can take over everything. I had no idea. He had tried 2 sales managers, alcoholic, right? Neither one of them had worked. He wanted to try somebody in the AA so he could prove that wouldn't work, then he'd run it all himself. That makes sense? You bet. Alcoholic. I end up in Orlando, Florida. See, I'd go everywhere, and every time I'd start doing it and get people to do it the way I knew that needed to be done and was okay with me, then he'd call and undo it, and then they'd go to pot. So I end up in Orlando, Florida. Now, you know that alcoholics do not have to make reservations. They need to know that we're coming. Other people do, but not us. They'll know we're coming. So I drive in there. Well, they've got a little kiddie show going on up there. People all over the country come in there and fill up the motels. Went to the 7th motel, and there was a guy. Walked in that thing, could not find a room, and walked in there and said, easy does it. And he'd been sober 24 years in AA, and he gave me a room. And then we went to a meeting, and after the meeting he came back and says, listen, I don't know what in the hell's going on with you. I said, what do you mean? He said, God, you're crazy. He said, you're past drinking. I don't know how in the hell you got as far as you have without being drunk. He said, what's the deal with you? Is your wife or what? And I told him about the job, and he said, my God, get back in that Mercury and go back to Houston and get rid of that job. Well, I've got, what's the name, number 2 laying in the bed, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I realized, I got through talking to him at 1:30, and I came in and laid down about 30 minutes, and I get up because, hell, I've got to go back to Houston. Well, she's missed the first part of the conversation. So I said, get up, we're leaving. That really shocks those Al-Anon civilians. So I just throw all the stuff in there and get her in there, and we take out, we're going through Mobile, Alabama, and she said, I really got to call them. I've never done it, but I need to. I know that you never stay on this side when you're going to the other side. So I went to the other side, no motels on the other side. They need to build some over there. I need to tell them about it. And she finally said, it's 10:30 at night. She says, you know, we haven't eaten. I said, oh, well, I took her out to dinner to Dairy Queen and got back in that old Mercury and drove that thing straight through to Houston, Texas. Never blinked an eye. Drove in that damn place. Drove in that apartment, got out of that car, and she got out of that car and said, my God, I'll never take another ride like that as long as I live. First time I noticed she was there. Went in, quit that job, turned all that car in. Now, what do you think you and I are going to do? We're going to get up and say, well, I guess I made a mistake. We're going to do that? Hell no, we're not going to do that. I had a brand new pair of white pajamas, put them on, got in that lounge chair, and started discussing things with people in AA. New people would call me, been in 3 or 4 months or something, and they'd say, God, I used to call you, and by the time I got through listening to you, I forgot what the hell I called for. I was sicker my 5th year in Alcoholics Anonymous than I was when I got here. Now go run your show a little while if you think you're a little too well. Just go run it. Go read it any way you want to do it. Get you a good chemical relationship going where the chemistry mix just right. That'll get you sicker than rain and live in a minute, but you'll enjoy most of it right to last. But you know who knows that that'll happen, don't you? Those that's had experience. So I go out there, and I resign that job, and I'm sitting there in that white pajamas in that lounge chair, and I'm going to work. I just haven't got to yet. I worked both jobs for a while. Didn't work both jobs. My company paid me 3.5 months after I left them because they knew I'd made a mistake. They knew I was going into a place I shouldn't be, and I was doing well in what I was doing, and they knew I was coming back. Well, I knew it the first month, but I wasn't going to tell them, right? So I end up sitting there for 1 solid year. We had about $5,000 or $6,000 at the time that we'd saved from that deal. And then, of course, the IRS come after my car, which is normal stuff for us. And I didn't let them have it. Why? Because I called my folks and borrowed some money. I'm getting older, but not old enough to get weaned too far away yet. So then I go out, I answer this ad, and I go out to this guy. Nice guy. And I go in there, and he looks at my resume, and he says, you know, I need to check this ad. He said, we're a small company. We have 4 women working with us. Even the women are engineers. We don't have anybody here that's not an engineer. I was looking for a graduate engineer who was an expert in offshore oil well fire safety. And I looked at him, and that's the first time I laughed in a year. I just died laughing. I thought, hell, forget it. I just got up. I said, throw the damn resume just throw it in the wastebasket. God, forget the whole thing. I started to walk out, and he said, hey. I turned around, and he said, God, I hope you'll be all right. Then what did I have to do? I had to do the same thing that I hated to do. Had to call that one guy. God, I hate to call him. I knew I hate to call him. You know they're going to tell you how bad you've been. So I called him. He said, thought you would never call. They've been talking about you. You know they talk about you here, don't they? Betcha. And when they say, I wonder how she's getting along, that means, wonder if she's drinking. You understand? So, anyway, I called him, and I said, well, what do you want me to do? He said, I'll be over there. And he came with 2 newspapers. I said, I live in Houston then. I said, what are you doing with the newspaper? Well, I'm assuming you don't have enough money to buy the newspaper. He said, did you call from home? You still have a phone? I said, well, yes. Of course, he doesn't know I had been borrowing money for 3 months from my folks. He said, look up the ads in the same type of business that you hated and were in last, and call me in the morning and tell me the 3 that you made appointments on. Now, do you think other people have to do that? God, I hated it. I called him, and the first one I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I drove around it, till it's too late. I missed it. And then I went to the next one. There's some young guy there, damn it. Guy that was a competitor. I knew him. I should have been the sales manager, not him. And he said, what are you doing here? I couldn't tell him. I just couldn't tell him. He said, you're looking for a job. I couldn't tell him. He said, turn around to that guy and said, hell, come on. We got 2 more appointments. Just tell him we'll hire Jim. Come on, let's go have some coffee. Jim, he'll take care of those other 2 interviews, and we'll just cancel that, and he'll be down there, and we'll all go check. Let's go check this thing. And I started to say, I'm not too sure whether I want to take it yet or not. Now I do that whole thing, worked there a year. Administrator called me one night and said, I'm in a hospital in Saudi Arabia. You want to go? And I said, tonight. So I went to Saudi Arabia and stayed 5 months, came back, total disaster, and then ended up in Dallas. You know how to go from Houston to Dallas? By the way, it's Saudi Arabia. When I run it, got it. I'm now back with the same company, doing the same thing that I hated. You see, wherever you are, wherever God's got you, stay there till He changes it. And I didn't do it, did I? I'm still doing it. Do I overdo it? Not at all. But I'm still doing the same thing. and it has given me a very good living, which is certainly terrible. We have to make a living. I pay my bills every damn month. Well, my new wife does. I don't like to mess with bills. I just like to run them up. I don't like to mess with them. So what do I need to do? I need to make sure that I'm doing what? Finding out if I'm saying my prayer in the beginning of the day, and if I'm reading something spiritual every day, which is the big book, something like that. It's a pretty good book for us. Don't read it too much, just a little at a time. And then check with that idiot, find out what to do and not do that day. And then I need to go to work, which is very, very discouraging. And only go when you have to. Don't go any more than you have to. And then you have to go to a meeting. Am I going to enough meetings? Which is about 4 or 5 a week. That's because we don't do well when we don't go to 4 or 5 a week. And then that's because we think in between. And what we learned that night is gone by the next night. So we have to get something new. And then we don't know what that was we learned anyway, so we have to go back again the next night to see if there was anything we learned the night before. And since we don't know any of it, that's what's going on, then we just have to keep going. And then that way we're going to be okay. But if we don't, we don't. And then, of course, we got to go home and thank God for the day. I said, what do you mean? Get on your knees and thank God for the day? Yes, get on. Hate God. Hate you. Hate everything. So that has absolutely nothing to do with it. Damn. More of that'll come out tonight, I guess, if we're still here. If we don't want to change our mind, go to the motel. And I'm open-minded now. You know, that's what it tells me to be, is open-minded. It's hell to open up an insane mind, but that's what it said. Our book says that. You can use it around where you need it. Now they want me, isn't it something? And they want me to pray. You ever prayed? Oh, God, yes. And they want me to pray, and they want me to be spiritual. They don't only want me to be spiritual, they said, I'm going to be only how I am spiritually. And I'm not going to be any other way. Well, is if you mess with that damn book long enough and run around with these idiots long enough, you're going to find out there's not a choice. And if it's really true that only God has wisdom, where are you going to get it? Nobody else got it. Then you're going to have to know Him. Now, how in the hell are you going to know God? Very painfully. But it got to be there, or they wouldn't tell us to do it. And we must live a spiritual life. That's our whole recovery, is a spiritual life. Fortunately, it doesn't mean a hell of a lot to us for a while. And we don't catch it too much because we know we're not going to be holy, and that's what we think it needs to be. And of course, we're not going to have to be in danger of being holy. We're going to be okay. You're not in any danger. You can go ahead and do it all you want to, and you'll be okay. You won't get too holy. And you won't get too spiritual. You see, I want to be spiritual. I want to get up there where there isn't anybody. I want Oral to call me. And Billy. I want Billy and Oral to call me and have me meet. They invited us, me and what's her name, number 2. She got into all that and send them money. They invited us one time. I'm sitting in Dallas, and they invite us to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I'm assuming that they're inviting me and 11 others. I get up there, and there's 4,000 people there. I thought, hell, he hadn't called me at the motel or nothing. And so I go out there, well, hell, it's a great show. Hell, that's a good deal. I was okay. I just did fine. Just sit up there, and they got a hell of a band, and hell of singing and moving, flapping, and stuff slapping and moving, and he's great. God, God. Saturday afternoon, raised a hell of a lot of money. Started out with $250,000. Got one shot. One guy walked up there and gave him, well, a lady walked up there and gave him $250,000. I said, man, that's my kind of guy. Don't start out with that penny stuff. But that night, his top theologian preached, and he stopped right in the middle of that deal and said, the majority of you people in this room tonight, that auditorium, are going to miss the whole thing. You know yourself to be Christians. You think of yourself to be Christians. Doesn't make a difference whether you've been going to church all your life. If you don't find out this one thing, you're going to miss the whole thing. You're going to miss it all. And he said, if you don't find your ministry, you're going to miss the whole thing. And it's just like God shot it. We've got ours. We got our ministry and wasn't even looking for it. Didn't even know we needed it. And we've got it. Isn't that amazing? Next morning, they're getting up there and the wheelchair's coming up and they're hitting the band and music is moving and they're getting ready to heal the people and all that kind of stuff. And I said, well, we might as well go. She said, well, don't you want to stay and see all this? And I said, well, we found out what we were supposed to find out last night. I said, I can't believe that we had to drive 365 miles up here and 365 back just to find out we had our ministry. She said, what do you mean? I said, that's all we came up here for. Isn't that amazing? We have got it. Dang, unbelievable. I wish I could believe it like I do right now all the time. I've got it right now, but I won't have it worth a damn by 11 o'clock tonight. I'll be thinking, you know. And if I wake up at 3, I really lost it, which is my time. Then they want me to pray. They want me to meditate. Did you ever have anything on your mind and couldn't get it off? How long? A month, a year, 2? We had this girl that was a friend of mine in my group, and she went down. We like to get into something. We like to get into off-breed stuff, you know. Don't go to just the normal churches. Let's get some cult deal kind of type thing, you know, because that's better for us. So she went over to that church that time. She talked to this guy, and what'd she do? What do we do? Bought 2 books. We got to buy some books. Not our books, not. We got to buy some books. What's our book? Just got it all in there. Who in the hell wants that? So she came back. The meeting was just starting, and she sat down beside me and says, hey, guess what? I found out how to meditate this afternoon. I said, did you really? Yeah. She said, I bought 2 books on it, too. I said, really? Yeah. Don't tell my sponsor. As soon as it's over, when they take off ice cream to slip in the other room, tell me how you do it. Went in the other room, and she says, here's what you do. You go home, get down by the side of the bed, and pray, and then clear your mind. And God just comes in. I thought, damn, that's it. Hell, that's it. She said, come on, let's go to ice cream. I said, oh, not me. I'm going home, get it going right now. I've been looking for this, looking for this. This is exactly what I want. Went down there, went in there, so what's her name, number 1 couldn't get in there, and I locked that door and got in there by the side of the bed, opened the window just in case an angel wanted to come in. Got down on my knees, and I prayed, and then cleared my mind. First thing I thought about was shacking up with that girl. And my sponsor said, I don't think you need to meditate on that anymore than you do. God's going to take care of all that. God's going to take care of all that. I can't take care of it. Neither can you. Have you got mental discipline? How do you like that one? That'll get you? Not ours. Not in our book. Our book says God's going to discipline it as He sees fit, not as you and I do. We don't have to worry about that. And thank God you can't do it to me, too, because I don't want some idiot doing it. They want me to read something spiritual. You can read some of the Bible if you'd like to. Watch it. Not too much. I like the one where it says, ask me anything you want to and I'll do it. There's some stuff before and after that I don't pay attention to. It's just that one that I like. I went to old Bradshaw. I shouldn't use his name. You're not taping this, are you? And when I went to him, he was just 3 years sober. I mean, I was just 3 years sober. That's when I wanted to really get it. And I knew that he'd probably send me, since I was Baptist, to Southwest Seminary in Fort Worth. So I went to him to tell him that I really wanted to be a spiritual person. I really wanted it. I wanted to dedicate my life to it. I wanted to really be that. And he looked at me like, you don't know where in the hell you are. He said, let me tell you, this is 1969. He said, let me tell you, you're in the strongest spiritual program way of life available to a human being today. But he says, you watch it. He said, they're going to take these 12 steps and try to use them for everything, but they won't work. It'll be a watered down version. Isn't that amazing? He doesn't know that now. You know what he says, where he made all his money? He was having a hard time making money. He was doing book reviews then, trying to make a living. And I remember I was in one Saturday morning, and they said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to leave. It's 9 o'clock. I'm going to go be with the Father. They called him Father John. I don't know why, but they did. And says, he's doing a book review, and I want to go. He's an AA, you know. And he says, well, what's the name of the book? I'm okay, you're okay. My sponsor says, you're not going. I said, why? He said, you're not okay. He talked of the little child. Guess who that is? You're looking at one, and I'm looking at a bunch. See, that's who we are. That's who we are. Isn't that wonderful? And guess what? We got a shortcut. God says you must come to me as a little child. We're there. We got it, haven't we? You ever feel, I could go to him today and feel being a little child. Have a joy and a good time being a little child. And we was there to begin with. Thank God we didn't mature. What if you was one of those sad people that matured, had to run everything, do everything, work everything out? Now what we got to do is just the opposite. Don't range nothing, don't work nothing, don't do nothing. It'll work. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Okay, if I'm a selfish, self-centered individual, then how am I going to become a person who's not self-centered, selfish individual? Well, they're going to trick you. They would talk about going on those 12-step calls, and they'd never let me go. And I'm ready. I'm ready to go save some souls, and they're not going to let me. So one day, my sponsor said, we got a 12-step call, come on, we're going to let you go. Took another guy and put me in the back seat, of course. And you don't get in the front right early. It takes you a long while to get up in the front seat. Stopped in front of this place, and then they prayed. And then he says, don't say anything, we'll handle this. Go in there. They didn't do too good. He was half drunk. They wasn't doing too good. They didn't talk about God or nothing. I saw her walking by in her terry cloth bathrobe. So I thought, well, I'll just go help her. So I went in the kitchen, backed her up against the wall in the corner so she couldn't get out. And here he comes. What are you doing? I said, I'm telling her about Al-Anon. Had no idea what the hell Al-Anon was. But I was telling her about it. And he said, get back in there. I said, what do you mean? He said, get back in there. You don't know anything about Al-Anon? My wife will take care of that. And I thought, I was doing pretty good. She needed help. I was going to be her savior. Thought I'd come back tomorrow and check it. And I said, well, y'all are not doing too good. I went with one other meeting with him, and then one day I was at the club one afternoon about 3 o'clock, and the phone rang, and 12-step call, wasn't nobody there. So I got the name, qualify the whole thing, get the thing down, call him, say, I'll be right there. And about that time, here comes all the big shots. They said, anything going on? Nothing. About that time, a guy walked in, been sober about 2 months. I said, come go with me. And my sponsor said, I'll go with you. And I said, no, I got to talk to him. Got in the car, drove up in front of that thing, and then I prayed and said, just listen to me. Don't say anything. I'll handle this. Went up there and gave him my very best shot. I talked about God and everything. and then took him to a meeting that night, and we picked him up, and I said, man, listen, they didn't take me for 6 months. You get to go to ice cream right now, first night. Now, he didn't eat any ice cream, but he was shaking good, but by God, he went. Next day, I picked him up, gave him some honey, made him eat that damn honey. I had him eating that honey right out of the damn jar. Took him right there. I'm going to heal this bastard in a hurry. Well, I got going, and I took him to the meeting. I said, man, you're going to love this Saturday night meeting. It's an hour and a half. And I said, man, after that, we go to meet some people over there, and there's 2 or 3 groups meet for ice cream. It's a great night. You're going to love it. You came in at the right time. After that meeting, he said, take me home. I said, what do you mean? He said, I've had all this crap I want. I said, listen, you can't make it without us. He said, I don't give a damn whether I can or not. I said, listen. Now listen. I took him. I said, I'll take you home, but you ought to go. You're missing the deal. I said, I'll call you tomorrow. And he said, I'll call you if I want to talk to you. Well, he didn't drink anything that day. That was Sunday. Monday, he'd been on beer for about 3 years and done pretty good. He went down Monday morning, bought a case of bourbon, took it to his apartment. I took off because I was going to Louisiana and work, and I took off, and I came back in Thursday. What he had done, he had never been to the hospital before in his life, and he started on that bourbon Monday morning, and Wednesday night he was in that hospital. And I'd drive in there and just barely get home in time for the meeting, and I'd come in and sit in a meeting about like we had last night. And when they called on my sponsor said, oh, I want to tell you all something. If you know somebody that's not quite ready, let Jim talk to him. But then the deal happened. Intergroup called me about 11 o'clock one night, said, had a 12-step call. The guy knew where our club was. I met him over there. We made coffee, talked to him till daylight, and he never took another drink. But that guy taught me more about 2 things. He was the best and the greatest at self-pity that I've ever known. He was absolutely fantastic. God, he was wonderful. Still good. He's 22 years later. He's still pretty good. And thank God he was Pentecostal and talked in tongues. And so then, also he had that women deal. In fact, he got married 5 times, and I was best man on 4 of them. I didn't do it the second time because he married the same one twice. But the third one, I'm telling you, she was a cute little living doll. But she was also a living tiger, too. I said, I'm going to tell you something. If you survive that one, you will never drink again. You will never worry about it. Well, what we'd always do is he'd be too scared to get his own clothes out of there, so we'd have to slip over there and get them while she's working there somewhere. Well, this is on a Sunday, and she had gone to a GSR meeting, and so I got him an apartment right across the street from our club. And I moved him out, got him in there, and we were sitting in the car talking about the world, and here she comes on the way to the club. She sees us, she whips in there, couldn't get over there where he was, comes in there where I am and said, I know what you've done. It's what you always do. You go get these and get them out of there. You got his clothes, get him in an apartment. That's what you always do. So I'm going to tell you something. He'll be back in my bed by Wednesday night. And you know what? He was. She had a power greater than I did, I'll guarantee you that. And I worked with my 3rd doctor and last, God willing. I didn't want. And that guy taught me more about the way I manipulate. He was an expert. He was absolutely a pro. And he also taught me more about the self-centeredness. He was the greatest I've ever seen. He used to get me and his wife and everybody else into the deal, and I said, damn, you got me into it again. Don't call me anymore. Doctors get up in the middle of the night, they run down to the operating room, and he'd be sitting out there at daylight on my porch crying, and with the paper. I just brought you paper. But he taught me more about that than anything. Then I worked with a guy who was an attorney, and pride is killing him. He showed me more about it than anybody I've ever known. Pride, ego is killing him. Tried to quit smoking, wouldn't do it. Told him how I did. Use the same program. He didn't want to do it. Looked at me and said, I don't want to do it. He's dying with cancer today. 56 years old. He showed me more. You see, I'm not responsible for anybody. I'm responsible for me living this way of life because you've shown me how to do it. See, that's what I'm responsible for. I'm not responsible for your sobriety. Thank God. What I would like to do would be responsible for the ones that make it. And then the ones that don't, blame them on you. But they say that if anyone should come in here and get this deal, has nothing to do with me at all. God is only going to take me through these places and these situations. That these situations that he's going to take me through are absolutely designed by him. And I'm going to be his child just as he says. And he's going to do exactly what he says he will do. And I'm going to be doing one thing and one thing only. I'm going to do exactly what this thing says for me to do one day at a time. And that's my project. And if I'll do that, God will take me in places I've never been. He will take me, he'll take me in places I could have never dreamed of, in places I could never have imagined. And things are going to happen if he can just use this system for me to stay out of the way. I've arranged some stuff. I arranged some stuff about 3 or 4 years ago, give anything in the world, hadn't done it. It's terrible. It's a hell of a mistake. Finally, God is finally going to clean it up. I'll tell you some things that's happened to me. What time is it? How much time we got? You don't know. God, you're asleep again. I mean, this is exciting, isn't it? Reggie likes to nap a little, which I understand that. He's heard all these stuff before. It's just an AA talk, you know. I hope. I reckon it is. I haven't been listening. Is this thing been going all right? Did you listen? Oh, okay. If we're getting off the track, let me know. I like to keep it right on this. I don't like to wander around or anything. I'm really serious about this crap. I want to really do it. All I want to do is have fun with everybody. Don't you think it's a good idea? Let's try it. We'll try that next week. Not this week, but next week. That when I remember that time old Bassanio wrote a book that says, I command God. God, wouldn't that? How would you like that one? Woo! I'd love that deal, wouldn't you? Yeah. No, it's not that. But I got the place a few times in the last 4 years that I could go ahead and talk to God as my Father. And he'd do it. That's the damnest thing I ever saw in my life. I thought, God, I can't believe that. Here we are talking about God all the time, going to these damn meetings, doing all this praying, and then when he does something, we can't believe it. Isn't that amazing? I know right now that we've got something people look for, spend money for. I had a Baptist preacher one time talking to his church, and I will tell you that it didn't go over real well. He went to California to talk to Schuler to try to get what we've got. He knew we had it, but he knew he didn't have it. And I started saying, what the hell are you going to do out there with Schuler if he ain't got it? Not what we got. I was in somewhere where the treatment center was sponsoring this whole thing, this deal, and they had 2 tables full of self-help books. I said, my God. And this guy said, he's 12 years old, said, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. He said, my brother, I've had a hell of a time, man. My brother's doing well, and said, this is my new girl. He's had it for almost a year. And he said, I said, look at those, God, look at all those damn self-help books. He said, oh, I've got a drawer full of them. I said, my God, man, throw the damn things away. I said, Who is the problem here in my life? Me. Self is my problem, and you're trying to build him up. We're trying to build up self, and that's our problem. And maybe that'll help those other people. Can you repeat it 10 times so you'll be something different? It's positive thinking, isn't it? Go read some of that crap and try it. And hopefully you'll get back. You screw up your mind where you can't even catch this thing. This happens to us all the time, especially now. Because everybody's trying everything. What for? Money. Who's selling those damn books? How are they? I don't know. Half of them probably drunk. But they sell a lot of books. Can you imagine that we try to go get stuff to build up self, and the self is the one that's destroying us? And I want to destroy it. I guess you want to get stronger so I can destroy myself faster. And he said, I can't believe that. And boy, they just like, I sat there and watched him, and the light come in. He said, I'll tell you one thing, honey. We're going to my place right now. We're throwing those damn books away. And I said, well, it's obvious you haven't done real well lately. Because he looked like he'd just getting ready to go to the funeral. Because what? I went to the wrong place for the wrong thing. I'm telling you. My dig wheel was Urantia. This book like that. See, it has books that the Bible doesn't even have in it about Jesus, which would fit us better, because hell, the Bible wouldn't really be enough for us. We need something else. Oh, just barely missed it. And now I don't know how you do it. I don't know how in the hell people do it coming in now, coming out of those treatment centers and stuff. It's a miracle if we can just get in here. Just get here. Because I want to tell you something. How did you get here? What got you here? What did you do to get here? Did you know where you were going? No. Do you know what you were doing out there all the time? You were out there getting married and having children and trying to go to school and be self-sufficient. Right? Wrong thing. How'd you do? Where'd you end up? Commode. Why? It's where I was supposed to go. That's where I was working on all the time. Old Baptists used to say, we're nothing but filthy rags. Their problem is, you and I went to the place where we were nothing but filthy rags. Did you like it? No, hated it. Didn't you? You like to go there? No, but we went. Didn't we? Damn right. Made sure we went. That's what I like about us. We're going to the commode, baby, and we're going to have the lid. And it's going to be black, not dark, black. And that's what we were supposed to do. That's exactly what God's children are supposed to do. God's children will never know him if they're self-sufficient. They must become insufficient to know him. And we did it. And we were good at it. Were you thorough? Did you get enough misery and pain? Yeah. I made sure. I went back and got a little after I got here to make sure. I went back 3 times just to make sure that I knew that I had enough. And I like to think about it and have a little more once in a while, just to, sober. Remember, we can get sick now because we're full time. Before we drank and blacked out some. Now we're full time. So if we're on our own, we're going to have a hell of a time because we can do it full time now. Never forget this guy, Wesley Parrish, out of dead now, Florida, when I was going through all that hell with that job and all that crap. He told me one night, he said, everything's happened to me since I've been in AA. Has not. What happened to him did not happen to me. He's a millionaire. And that has not happened to me yet either, after I talked to him. And he said something that I never forgot. You're going to always go through stages of life in AA to whether you're going to become more spiritual or more dedicated to God or to your way. He said it usually happens after you've gotten through that first 2 years, then you've got something that 3rd year, then between the 4th and 6th. And then later on, I had more happen to me my 19th year, and some idiot, I was doing the steps in Dallas, and he says, I just wanted to tell you that my 19th year was my worst year in AA. And I said, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And more happened to me then than any other time. But I went through it better than I ever had, because I had more to go. They want me, and my book says for me that I'm going to be directed, guided, and receive the power of God. God's going to be my sole manager and my sole director. God is going to handle all my business. He's going to handle all my relationships. He's going to handle everything. And I am to need to seek him, and they use that word, by the way, that they want me to seek him, period. That's my solution. And once I begin to go the life that seeks him only on a daily basis, then I'm going to get better mentally and spiritually and physically. But my deal is, I spend my time doing this way of life, so I'll be seeking God. See, I always thought, making a decision in the third step didn't mean nothing. You forget it in 30 minutes. But it's what I do today. It's what I'm doing today that makes the difference. It's that I do those things every day. And then I'm seeking God through that time. And those times that he's really... I was with a guy in Abilene that I'd helped his daughter a little bit, or worked with his daughter a little bit. And they said how great he was. He had quite a bit of money. And he says, have you really had a personal experience with God? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I guess some do and some don't. I thought, you're going to miss it, boy. You're going to miss it. You and I. How did you get here? God sent you here. God said, I'll prepare a place for you. Did he? Sure did, didn't he? Look who you had here. How'd you know these people were going to be here? How'd you know who's going to be here? How'd you know who they were when they got here? What did he do? He brought us from every walk of life. Didn't leave out a one. Not a one. He brought preachers and ministers and priests, and he brought them all. Why? Because he's fixing his kingdom up that he promised he'd fix for us. How come you and I didn't fit into the world? How come this didn't work? Because God says we're not supposed to. You were not going to fit in this deal. Neither was I. Because God says his kids don't fit here. They live in his kingdom that he creates, and he takes them and puts them in there, then transfers them into his image, and when he does that, then he sends them out to do whatever they do, and 90% of the time they don't know what in the hell it's doing. Isn't that amazing? Because you know why? If he let us know, we'd go do it. So he can't tell us. And we can't brag about it because he says, my people are not to boast. And he says, you have your personal relationship with me, and I'll in the closet, and I'll take care of everything else, and I'll give you the way to go. And he did that with you and I. And it never fails us when we call one another, when we meet together. It never, never fails. When I invite him in, when he gave me that prayer to say every day, to invite him into my day, help me not to drink, fill me with his Holy Spirit, say that every day. Be with my sponsor. He never, never fails, because I now live where God's children live. They live with the power of God. Only God's children have it. And that one power overcomes everything. That one power wins it all. And we've got the system that we now live in that power, and that power lives with us under full control, just like it is right now, when I can feel you loving me and me loving you. Thank you all very much.